Sarah, it is wonderful to have you on here. I've been doing a tour of the cohort from Ignite Propel, I think, since March.
Yeah.
I had Laura and Christy on this morning. I've been talking with Liz from Material Evolution. Y'all are fascinating to me. Like, it's great to go through and see, in this day and age where we've all been removed from our local offices and everything like that. We're now here. We're able to converse face to face over different time zones and different geographies. Yeah. And let's start with the basics. Who you are and what you do and what you're passionate about.
Okay.
Real basic, right?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Sure.
So for me, things have changed a lot in the last 6 months. Last time we were speaking face to face was in March, and I was telling you all about my travel startup. I was telling you all about my ambitions in event tourism, and literally within a week or 2 weeks of our chat, everything changed. I knew straight away that I wasn't going to be able to pursue the plans that I have for 2020 with Integra Bookings. But I built up along the way quite a lot of skills that I thought could help in the community. So what I did was just try something. I bought a domain and tested an idea, and it worked within a day. So I got a surprise. I had to then try and figure out how I was going to follow it through, but somehow it came together. And what that website was doing was connecting people who were in need of support with those who could provide it. And we were repurposing enterprise software to do that. So we were able to do that really, really quickly. So it brought something to the community that wasn't already there and was able to help during COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, you and I had like a side conversation. I think we were stitching together people, right? Because Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, trying to figure out those resource pools, right? The work that we had done through COVIDcommunityresponse.ie with Danny and Seamus and all those, Michael, and there's a whole list of folks that were incredible there. But also the work that was being done in your geography. I think that's important. Like, COVID did so much. Like, your pivot away from event tourism, right, which was amazing and still is, it's coming back. I know it's coming back.
I hope
so. Right? No, it absolutely is. I mean, if there's anybody like me that's out there going, I need to go someplace, I need to go do something. But being able to recognize the opportunities that were in front of you, I think, a lot of what I've been focusing on recently has been community. Not recently, but I think more recently than not, has been around that community. And you recognize something that was there. You said it. I have skills and abilities in this regard, but there was a human factor in this case, the outside influence was COVID. And all of a sudden you were able to leverage those skills and do something with. So what was, you said enterprise software helping people. So what's been that journey? How is that? What are some successes? Maybe some failures? I mean, you talk about failures here as well. I mean, it's important to learn from things that we've tried and what we haven't. So give me a little bit of some of those stories that have happened in the interim.
Yeah, well, basically, I bought the domain on the 15th of March. I was in isolation myself. My daughter had symptoms before lockdown. So we were in isolation before everybody else went into lockdown, and I started to worry about like what will happen to my mom if she's in isolation. She's on her own and she's in her 60s. I also had relatives who were talking about helping the elderly, and I started to think, well, how do you know you're not transmitting the virus and stuff? And I started to think, is there anybody really helping community-led support groups to kind of help them coordinate the support that they're offering? So it was originally set up to help Facebook groups to manage their support requests and their data. And I set up a website with HubSpot as the data collector for the forms for offers of support and for the requests for support as well. And then I used Zapier to bring that through to Slack, and I created a community in behind the scenes on Slack. And I split that up by council district, so it was local, 11 different council districts across Northern Ireland. And then I also had a general channel for the whole of Northern Ireland, for the whole region, so that people who were providing support could learn from each other and share knowledge and share information, collaborate, and set up area coordinators for each location. And then it just worked really well. I had Zapier, had different names of bots. Cassie was our bot that was bringing through the community support requests had Zapier bringing through the requests that were filtered, so they were anonymous coming through to those channels, and then the people who were willing to support them were able to say, oh, I'll help with that one, and it worked really, really well. And we used HubSpot to get feedback straight away. We had really heartwarming feedback, so it started to gain traction really quickly. Actually, within 2 weeks, I had to ask everybody please to stop sharing, because I was struggling. I was really struggling. I was working through the night. My husband was going to divorce me. It was going really, really bad. And I was like, I can't actually do 24 hours a day anymore. It was really tough. And then I got a really great admin team on board. A girl called Charmaine, who I went to school with, came on board. She shadowed what I was doing, and then she started to pick things up, because although a lot was reliant on the technology and the bots and things like that, there was a human aspect, and that part was the introductions of introducing the volunteers to the support requests coming through. So we wanted to let those people request and support know that we're here. There's the volunteer here. If you have any problems, we're here as well. You've got 2 contacts. So there was that human element. So we needed more people in on that part. So Charmaine came on board. Then we had one of our support requests called Danielle. Was when she gave feedback, she said how well it had been going with her volunteer, but she felt so bad because she felt like she wasn't doing anything herself. So she said, is there anything I can do? And I was like, yeah. So Danielle came on board as admin, and she has been amazing as well. She, her story is incredible, where she sort of came through needing support, and then she ended up giving so many people support. She's helped thousands of people over the last sort of 5 months. She's been on board from April. So yeah, it worked out really well. So that went great. Then we collaborated externally with SureCert to take on the Tech Force 19 challenge. Mm-hmm. So that was obviously to help people in vulnerable situations during COVID, to deploy technology quickly. So it was a lot about the background checks of the volunteers and things like that. So we took on that pilot. We also started distributing donations of PPE and hand sanitizer. So in total to date, we have distributed over £40,000 worth of donations. Wow. And that is on record time as well. Like, our support requests to matches are coming in. We can do it in a few minutes. And we've had, like, our feedback, the main sort of feedback that we're getting from people is obviously of thanks, but also of like, they can't believe how quickly that they were responded to and that actually something was done. So I think that's our unique thing that we bring. So from here, what we're looking at is really how can we share what we've been doing with the wider voluntary community and social enterprise sector to improve their response to support requests, and also to help them embrace technology as a means to improve what they're doing in the communities. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, I mean, and one of the things that I'm studying actually through my the academic side of my brain, whatever's left of my brain at this age, is really looking at technology enablement of communities and looking at marginalized communities specifically. So, I mean, in this case, you're looking at, well, if you look at the elderly and the fact that they're locked in, they're shut in, they don't have the same access to resources that someone of your and my age. Yeah. I'm not aging you, don't worry. Well, or somebody that's more mobile, for example, or has more capability of reaching those resources. A lot of that, it's very interesting to see the use of technology to help other people in a positive way, right? A lot of times, what makes the news is technology causing problems for people, right? The facial recognition, or I always have to point this out because it happened in Britain. Burning the 5G cell phone towers because it causes COVID, like this kind of.
Yeah. It happened here too. My husband works in telecommunications, and some of his team were attacked. Like,
oh no.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to talk to your husband at some point too. I got to get his story. But within that, there's this relative distrust, and then obviously something you're able to accomplish that the government can't necessarily accomplish in the same period of time, right? You go through that in tremendous amount of bureaucracy, but you were able to incorporate safety, right? SafeCert, the processes there, which I know was huge for the work that I was doing with COVID community response in Ireland. What you were doing through SafeCert, it's great to be able to help people, but there's certain people that we have to make sure that those guardrails are there, right? Yeah. But being able to implement technology, people together. And like you were saying, it's amazing, those connections and how agile things can be when it's done together. Not to say that technology won't break. I know I've worked with Zapier in the past, and if you don't get those configurations right, your bot suddenly turned into a Hydra. Like, why is all this information going everywhere? When, from your perspective, and you mentioned this through, I think it was Danielle was the admin, but someone that's being helped and then coming back and turning around and helping others. I think that's such a powerful, it's a humanizing story, right? If somebody recognizes that the gifts that they've been given, or the opportunity that they've been afforded through this is something that they can in turn give back. Laura and Christiane mentioned that a little bit of that this morning, through their, and you both work in communities, and I know you know each other, and it's incredible to see that. But they mentioned the exact same thing, where it's like people that, the individuals that they were working with that had jobs were the ones that actually turned around and did the most within communities during this period of time as well, because they realized that that gift that they've been given, that opportunity, was something that they could turn around and do it. A different facet, if you will, to the whole entire story. What do you see from, I think it's, from my mind, the question at least that's percolating in there, how did people receive the technical side of what you were doing, right? It's not picking up a phone necessarily. It's interacting with new tools. Were people willing to kind of embrace that? It sounds like they did, but was there any kind of impediments that you had to overcome in order to get to that point?
Well, what in the very beginning, I actually contacted Twilio about integrating, and I spoke to Danny about that as well, with getting phone lines involved instead of just the online forms. But I realized that there were already phone lines in this region for that purpose, through the likes of Advice NI and things like that. And then the local councils have set up phone lines. So what there wasn't was that sort of quick form without having to pick up the phone. So we were kind of appealing to people who didn't really want to pick up the phone. Maybe just a lot of people who just felt uneasy about the situation and wanted to know that there was help available, but they didn't want to make calls maybe. I don't know. It seemed to be a different niche of the people who needed support that maybe was coming through our system. But what I was always willing and ready to do, as soon as someone flagged that they thought we needed a phone line, I was going to get it set up, and no one ever asked.
That's intriguing.
So, just until we were asked for it, and we weren't asked for it. So
you would think of like all the situations. I think we noticed a little bit of this down in with CCR. We did do Twilio. We did the integration. A toll-free number that people could dial in. But I think it was actually the forums that had the most activity on them. It was folks that heard on radio, and I'm assuming that you had the opportunity to go through public radio as well, and kind of you didn't. So this was all literally word of mouth or through. That's amazing. I like that. That's a great organic approach to stuff. So you're continuing on. You're continuing to push this, and obviously COVID it's relented a little bit, but there's still pockets of things going on. Do you see this extending out into other aspects of community care? There's obviously PPE, there's COVID, there's, the immediate response. Do you see this as being an ongoing model or an ongoing approach? And, maybe splitting the event tourism side? Obviously, community calling as an event tourism company would be a little bit different, but, do you see that kind of logical split? And do you think that this is something that you would end up pivoting towards as more of a nonprofit type operation, or what's your view on the landscape now?
Well, basically what we've been looking at are the new needs that are arising as a result of COVID-19, but what that actually translates to is a lot of things that were already there, but they weren't really on maybe my radar in particular. It was just shining a spotlight on a lot of problems that already exist, but are maybe being worsened by the current situation of people being in isolation and being cut off from their normal face-to-face communities and things like that. So what we did was over the course of July, we moved our support platform, our online sort of window to it all, as you like, from COVID-19 community.org over to communitycalling.limited. And what we did was we added a page that was for people to get involved. So we asked people who could provide workshops, classes, mentoring, all sorts of things. How would they like to help in their communities? And we've had a whole range of people coming forward from all sorts of training and support, through to well-being, through to donations of food and sanitary products and different things, so that we can then match that with the needs of not only individuals, but more so other charities and other social enterprises, because we've proved our matching service on a granular level from individual to volunteer during COVID. And now what we're really looking to do is match donations of time, skills, and products to other third sector organisations who need them, to save them maybe the hassle of trying to source different things that they need to help them with their existing operations and things like that. So we're looking at that, and then also building a community for collaboration across the voluntary community and social enterprise sector, where we can share knowledge and just support each other along the way. So I'm just looking into different options. But yeah, we've had a really good response for that so far. So it's interesting too.
Yeah, I think the humanity aspect of it's so interesting. Like you're saying, social enterprise. I mean, you're basically, to a certain extent, you're creating a social enterprise incubator or mentoring program even through that. And that it's critical. I think a lot of everybody runs to, I'm not saying that this was your motivation, but it's, historically, the startup world has a lot of emphasis on, rapid development and rapid gain, right? What can I do to make the most money in the shortest period of time? Either sell it, get bought, and do whatever. And whether that be in tech or other, agriculture, financial services, fintech is obviously a huge, startup pool. I think a lot, the interesting part for me, or the part that I find the most intriguing about all this, is that this was organic. This was solving an immediate problem.
Yeah.
But out of that, the incredible amount of growth that's able to be there. I mean, I get to talk to Esther on Friday. I'm looking forward to talking to Carol and her stories and that. But there is another example of, social enterprise, if you will, but really kind of focusing on the human problem. I mean, you've brought it up multiple times. Like, that human problem becomes, it touches everything that we do. I'm part of a company, but what I choose to do with my time, effort, and energy, and talking with you and talking to others, that's the social impact that I can have. And we build this kind of interesting spider web of community where one life touches another and builds something even better. Yeah. So I really love the fact that you're looking at and you're going for this. I think that's incredible. And the passion for events and things still is there. I can see it. I know it to be true, right? You can't just let that go.
Yeah.
So do you see that there's a maybe down the road, and I would hate to call it, compassion tourism or humanity tourism, but do you think that there is a role for engaging with folks who want to help, whether removing geography aside, or maybe looking, specifically into Northern Ireland? Do you see that there is a role for that type of engagement with a wider audience? Like, it's not just about my local community, but it's bringing outsiders into my local community to help as much as possible.
Yeah, I do, because I think that if COVID's done anything, it's made us all realize, no matter where you are in the world, you can still face those same problems at the same time, and you can relate and help each other. And I think in a way it's brought a lot of people from different locations closer together in the challenges that they face. Although we're separated through the isolation, I think it's brought, shared challenges at the same time, which also brings in at the same time shared goals. And I think if you have shared goals, then that's where it's really easy to build strong communities, because when you're all working towards that same purpose and you're really, really clear on what it is, then you've straight away got a great community with a lot of passion behind it. And that's something that I've noticed. So I think it may make it easier to focus on sort of that compassion aspect of events. That it's what my community experience was before was more interest-based community. Yeah. I don't know if this is a thing. I don't have a lot of experience of explaining these things, but interest-based being music, being travel, being in particular electronic music, it was really interest-based. It wasn't like there was this sole cause for us all, it was just like we really, really like the same music. So that's why you kind of want to travel to go and listen to it. But I think an even stronger reason to come together would be for a cause, right? So I think that might be something that is more prevalent, in the time to come. I don't know.
No, it's something to think about, I suppose. I mean, again, like you're saying, communities are formed around a common interest or common goal. I've heard that repeated by everybody, which is great. Kind of whatever social theory we want to talk through, and there's a stack of papers on my desk that there's people that are spending the time to kind of go through and theorize about all this stuff. I think it's incredible to see that human element being the ties that bind us, the thing that causes us to do it. So I love the passion, Sarah. I love the purpose that you've had. I love seeing the efficacy of what's been done. And I truly, truly hope that it continues, whether as a social enterprise or as a volunteer-based social enterprise, something that is maintained, as even if you lift your hands up and say, hey, I got to step away from this for a bit, you have a core group of folks that have adopted this and moved this on. I mean, it sounds like, right? You've got good people that you
actually I haven't even explained fully the entire team, and a lot of that's down to Anne, or actually, your previous interview with Anne, and building a board. I have an amazing board, like such a fantastic board that brings so much to our team and to our organization. And that was through the help of Anne, explaining to me about building a diverse board, looking for what people bring in terms of their skill sets. So our board, we have Claire from community, or from Ormo-Bass, the startup community, Claire Dowds as our chair. So her passion is all about building communities, and that's really cool. And she's a brilliant person to lead our board. And then we have Conal McDevitt, who is focused on communications and PR and operates on a global scale. So his experience is tremendous. And then we have Gary Davison from Tech Nation, bringing the technology side and stuff like that. So it's really cool. We have great meetings. They go really well. And I think regardless of what happens with me, although I can't imagine me moving from where I'm at the moment, right. But I think what we've set up with Community Calling will continue. We have so many great people behind it already. So it's fantastic. We'll find a way that we can continue to help people. So.
That's excellent. Well, maybe you, Anne, and I should jump on a call at some point. I know Anne and I are already trying to set up call number 2 or podcast number 2, whatever we're going to call these things, conversation number 2 about diversity in boards, extending that even further and looking actually within the startup space. So, I think you, as someone who's received some of her wisdom and, implemented it and actually seen the impact of that kind of diversity of thought, that diversity of, of makeup on your board, I think is huge. A lot of people just, we want to turn it from theory into praxis, right? And it's always making it real and doing it there. So, you know what? Listen, it's been an honor, like truly an honor. I'm so glad we had this conversation this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. And thanks for putting me at ease, because these things don't come without anxiety for me. So I really appreciate it. It's been really lovely to chat.
Absolutely. Well, again, you're always welcome. You're always welcome to be back on here. Like I said, figure out ways. It's those threads, it's amazing the people that we've talked to that we have in common, that we're able to kind of join the dots with. The words coming out of your mouth echo the words that I've heard from so many other people as well. And that's incredible. We all have this kind of shared experience.
One more thing to mention just before I go, of course, is Ignite. Because I wouldn't be doing this, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have had the confidence to make that change from event tourism to the voluntary community and social enterprise sector at all without the support of the Ignite team and cohort. I'm so grateful for that community. That community is awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. Chris and I have talked. We're excited about 2021 and ways to continue to be involved. So yeah, you're going to see more of me, I promise. And I hope to see more of you and everything that you're doing. So again, awesome to have you here. Great conversation. Let's keep it going. And great.